Deep inside every one of our cells, there's this biological clock, and it's been ticking away since the day we were born. For the longest time, we just assumed this clock only moved forward. But what if it didn't have to? What if we could slow it down or maybe even turn back the hands a little? That's the big question we're tackling today. Are there any real, honest-to-goodness breakthroughs in lengthening our telomeres? Okay, so first things first, let's get on the same page. What are telomeres? The classic analogy is perfect, so we're going to stick with it. Picture your chromosomes, the bundles of DNA that make you, as shoelaces. Telomeres are those little plastic tips on the ends. Their whole job is to keep your genetic information, your shoelaces, from unraveling and getting damaged every time a cell makes a copy of itself. Super important. Now, here's the thing. Every single time a cell divides, those little protective caps get just a tiny bit shorter. It's a natural process, part of a thing called the end replication problem. So over your entire life, this slow, steady shortening acts like a countdown clock. It's what takes us from having nice, long telomeres when we're young to the shorter ones in midlife, and finally to a point where they get so short, the cell just says, all right, I'm done, and stops dividing. And that, right there, brings us to the core of our conversation. Is this just a fact of life we have to accept, a one-way street? Or have we actually figured out ways to step in? Are there real, science-backed breakthroughs that can hit pause on this clock, or maybe, just maybe, even reverse it? First up, let's talk about our cellular clocks. Before we jump into all of the cool interventions, we've got to understand why this shortening process even matters for our health span. The number of years we live in good, vibrant health. So where do we start looking for answers? Well, what's so fascinating is that the most proven, most solid breakthroughs aren't found in some high-tech, futuristic lab. They're actually found in the choices we make every single day. Let's look at the incredible power of lifestyle. And really, the science on this is crystal clear. Your first and most powerful line of defense when it comes to keeping your telomeres healthy is you. It's your lifestyle. This chart just lays it all out, doesn't it? It shows this direct cause and effect. On one side, you've got all the good stuff. A diet full of plants, getting your heart rate up with exercise, all linked to longer, healthier telomeres. But on the other side, a sedentary life, chronic stress, smoking, they all speed up that shortening. And the big reason why is simple. They crank up oxidative stress and inflammation in your body, which is basically like letting rust build up on your internal cellular machinery. And if we zoom in on diet for a second, the evidence is overwhelming. Researchers have pinpointed what they call a telomere-friendly diet. And no, this isn't some fad. It's a pattern of eating that's loaded with antioxidants from plants and healthy fats like omega-3s. These things actively fight that cellular damage that wears down our telomeres, while all the ultra-processed junk and sugar, while they do the exact opposite. All right, let's move on. Now we get into the really interesting and kind of tricky territory. Pills, powders, and proof. This is where we have to be super careful and separate the marketing hype from the actual hard evidence. And we have to start with one of the most famous supplements out there, one you've probably seen advertised, TA65. It's a compound that comes from the astragalus root, and it's sold specifically as something that activates telomeres. That's the enzyme that can actually rebuild and lengthen telomeres. But here's where we get to the crucial claim versus catch. So the claim? It's actually true. Some studies do show TA65 can lengthen telomeres, especially in older folks. But, and this is a huge but, there's a catch. A big review of the evidence found that this lengthening doesn't seem to translate into any actual health improvements, like making people less frail or lowering inflammation. What some scientists think might be happening is that it's not really activating telomeres at all. It's just changing the mix of your immune cells to favor the ones that already have longer telomeres. See the difference? And if you want to know why you should be skeptical, look no further than the money. A systematic review found that a whopping 78% of the studies on TA65 were funded by the very industry that sells it. And the analysis concluded this led to a significant bias, inflating the positive results. That's a massive red flag. Okay, but then, in a crazy plot twist, a trial from 2025 revealed a real breakthrough coming from a totally unexpected place. A common class of drugs used to treat diabetes, called SGLT2 inhibitors. And I'm talking about a proper, rigorous, randomized, controlled trial. What they found was pretty amazing. After 26 weeks, over 90% of the people taking the drug saw their telomeres get longer. Compare that to the placebo group, where only about 65% did. The theory is that by making the body healthier on a metabolic level and tamping down inflammation, these drugs create a better environment that just naturally protects our telomeres. Pretty cool. So, we've gone from lifestyle to repurposed drugs, and now we arrive at the absolute cutting edge of the science. And I have to be clear, this isn't about general anti-aging. This is a targeted, incredibly powerful breakthrough for people born with rare, devastating genetic diseases that affect their telomeres. The therapy is called EXG34217. It's the first of its kind, designed for one group of people, patients with what are called telomere biology disorders. These are inherited conditions where your telomeres are just critically short right from birth, which can lead to really serious problems like bone marrow failure. And how it works is it's like something out of science fiction. They take a patient's own blood stem cells out of their body. Then in the lab, that's what ex vivo means, they use a specially designed virus to deliver a gene that helps rebuild telomeres. Then they put these newly corrected, rejuvenated cells back into the patient. And the best part? No harsh chemotherapy needed. And the results? For the very first patients, they are nothing short of life-changing. I mean, look at this. For one patient, their telomere length went from a dangerously low 3.6 kilobases to 6.7. They nearly doubled it, bringing it well into the normal, healthy range for someone their age. It's just incredible. And don't just take my word for it. The initial findings, published in a top medical journal, NEJM Evidence, called it a successful sustained telomere elongation with no treatment-related safety concerns. For these families, this isn't just a breakthrough, it's a lifeline. So after all that, let's bring it all home and summarize the key takeaways in our final section. Your telomere toolkit. We can really sort all of this into 4 main buckets. First, you've got the proven. That's your lifestyle. Diet, exercise, sleep, stress, that's the absolute foundation of telomere health. Then there's the promising. This is where those repurposed drugs like SGLT2 inhibitors fit in. They show amazing potential, but we need more research. Then the pioneering. That's the gene therapy, a game changer for specific rare diseases. And finally, the uncertain. This is where supplements like TA65 sit because of the commercial bias and the fact that we just don't have good data on whether they actually improve your health. So when you put it all together, the science is telling us something pretty profound. Our cellular clocks, they aren't set in stone. They're actually dynamic. We can influence them. And that completely changes the conversation. The question is no longer if we can affect them. It's now, with all this new knowledge and these powerful tools on the horizon, how should we?